Can I do the we're not worthy right now?
Oh, stop it. Just
David,
stop it.
David, let us worship you.
Ah, it's weird. It's weird.
What an excellent day for an
Welcome, horror fiends, and oh boy, do we have a special treat for you all. To be a horror fan is to know exactly who our guest tonight is. If you do not, I may have to ask you to turn in your horror membership card at this time. Busting out on the scene in a big way in 2016, he gave life to one of the fastest rising iconic slashers to grace the big screen in quite some time. Dripping with personality and a relentless evil desire to toy with and torture his victims, he has fast become a household name in the horror genre and has us horror fiends salivating for his return to stalk Miles County for the holidays come October. First, though, a pit stop as player number 2 in the highly anticipated horror movie from director Michael Leavy titled Stream, dropping in theaters on August 21st. So, dear listeners, I will now ask you to hide the salt and bleach, grab your favorite sunflower sunglasses, crank up that Clown Cafe song 211, and join us in welcoming David Howard Thornton, aka Art the Clown, to the show. David, we are all huge fans of the Terrifier franchise, and we are absolutely honored to have you on the show. So thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
So, David, where
Yes.
did you start, man? Prior to becoming Art the fucking Clown.
Oh God, I was waiting tables for like 13 years in New York City doing like side acting jobs here, there for like voiceover work and stuff like that for like animated children's shows. And then I toured with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, for 5 years. So I was a voiceover and song and dance guy before becoming Art.
Where did that lead to? How did it lead into you getting a role as Art the Clown in Terrifier to start?
How
Oh
did
yeah.
Damien find you?
Yeah, it is pure happenstance in a lot of ways. At that time, I had taken off like a few months off of waiting tables because I had just come back from my last tour of Grinch, and I wanted to just focus on auditioning. And at that time, I was still really focused on just trying to get on Broadway or a Broadway tour. And I had been in final callbacks for like 4 or 5 different Broadway tours, and every single one of them had fallen through for one reason or another. And I was getting a little discouraged because I was like, I'm so close to getting something. Like, come on, come on. And then this audition popped up on this website called Actors Access, and they were looking for a tall, skinny guy that had experience doing clown work or physical comedy for the role of Art. And I knew the character from All Hallows Eve. So I was like, oh shoot, I could totally do this. This is right in my wheelhouse. So it was like I'd never done film work before, but so I was like, well, I know this is a low budget independent film. So who knows if anybody's gonna even see this thing, but at least I could get some experience on camera, have something good for a demo reel or resume and stuff like that. And so I tried to convince my agents to submit me, and they were fighting me on it. They're like, nah, this is very low budget project. You need to be doing bigger things. So like, no, I have a good feeling about this. I want to get some experience being on camera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just submit me. We'll see what happens. And there's a reason I'm not with that agent anymore.
Thank God.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
They
yeah.
don't know
So,
everything.
oh God, no, this one especially did not. It is this. I feel like they just totally, blew some good chances there in the future because it's like, yeah, I got the part. I went in there, auditioned for this thing, and it was a lot of fun. They basically had me improvise an audition for it, and it's online. You can actually check it out. But it's like, long story short, I did this whole thing where I snuck up behind my victim and decapitated them with a hacksaw. And picked up the head, tasted it, didn't like the taste of it, so I put salt on it, and I gave it a thumbs up, skipped out my merry way. And yeah, the only direction I was given is you decapitated somebody and you're happy about doing it.
Oh,
Oh, so it was barely acting. I mean,
Yeah,
who doesn't
barely,
want to do
barely.
that?
Oh, I know. It's I probably got the inspiration from my last shift at work, so I was just like, yeah, this will be fun.
So I guess along those lines, I heard a rumor actually earlier today that art's become kind of therapeutic for you in real life.
Yeah, I guess you could say that in some ways. I don't know what that really says about me, but like, I'll have moments where I'm like, I get annoyed with someone, I guess you could say. Especially when I was living in New York City, just walking down the streets, you get annoyed with people all the time. And that's when I would just come up with like kill scenes in my head. I remember like one time there was this person just revving their car outside of my job, and I was working in the cafe, so it's like right outside there. So I'm getting they're spinning their tires, and all that, so the smoke's going everywhere. It's really loud and obnoxious. And I came up with this whole idea for a kill scene just off of that, just like doing that to some guy and revving his tires and doing that to his face with the tire. And I was like, yeah, I emailed Damien about that. He's like, that's sick, dude. I'm like, I know. Look what you've done to me, man.
He's already working on the mold
Yeah.
for the
Who
guy.
knows? Who knows?
Uh,
Maybe he'll utilize that thing one day. I was like, that's the thing. Like he and I will like sometimes just come up with a kill and we'll just message each other. And who knows if we ever use it, but we're just like, this might be fun to do one day.
he just kind of yes and it for
Yeah.
hours.
Why not? Why not? It's great therapy because at least, we're just coming up with creative things to do like that instead of actually acting out those impulses. So it's like, there's something to be said in that, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, Art is the perfect character for that because
Oh
nothing's
God,
off
yeah.
limits. So you guys can go as dark as you want with this.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's very freeing in that way. I mean, I've discovered that just at the conventions doing my photo ops where I can just walk into a room of people and flick them all off and they applaud me. I'm like, this is freeing as anything.
As you did I when I got a photo op with you at one of
Yeah,
the conventions.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I love
great.
that. I can be vile and nasty and horrible to people and they love it. I'm like, this is crazy.
You have a license to be an asshole.
I do. I really do. And it's wonderful. I just, because I love to scare people and I can just go up to people that are just not paying attention, sneak up right behind them and honk the horn right in them, and they jump out of their skin and they turn around and they're like, oh.
Oh my God, you wouldn't believe who scared the shit out of me earlier.
Yeah. That, and sometimes they just don't even believe I'm really me. I was at Monster Palooza going to the lobby and this person passing is like, huh, that's a very good art. And just keeps walking. I'm like, yeah. And like my
Yeah.
makeup artist is like, yeah, I would hope so.
So, so David, with art not speaking at all, and you having a strong background in voice acting, right? So where
Yeah.
did the inspiration come from? And how you played the role? Like who'd you study? What did
Oh
that look
yeah.
like?
That's a great question. It comes from my education growing up from my family. They gave me a great education in like old time comedians, especially in the silent film era. So I was watching like Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, the Marx Brothers, even like my aunt gifted me a box set of Mr. Bean videos when I was a
Oh, Mr.
teenager.
Bean.
Yeah. And I loved them. I would sit there and
Yeah.
watch them over and over and over and over and over because I was like, this is such a cool brand of comedy. And I would love to play like one of those like silent mischievous characters one day. So that was always in the back of my head. And I did a lot of physical comedy growing up and especially doing a lot of children's theater. And then when I was with the Grinch, um, our Grinch was Stephen Carl, who played Rod Rotten from Lazy Town, and he was professionally trained in clowning and mime work and stuff like that. And we both had that love of physical comedy, so we would talk about that stuff all the time. He took me under his wing, like taught me some new tricks and stuff like that, and so that was there in the back of my head the whole entire time. I was like, you can even look at my performances art and like compare it to Stefan's version of Robbie Rotten, and you'll see a lot of similarities between the characters. Because I even went to Stefan when I first got cast as art. I like called him up and I'm like, dude, I got cast as this silent character that we both really would love to play, and so I would love some tips and tricks and everything from you. And he was happy to oblige. He was really thrilled about it. He actually did get to see it before he passed away too, so I was really happy he was able to see that, and that's why there's a dedication to him at the end of Terrifier 2 because
Okay.
he had definitely a giant impact on my creation of the character with what I brought to him.
Yeah, I just love how you bring the character to life, through facial expressions, body mannerisms, right? The
Uh,
animation and all that. It's just it's
Well, I
fantastic.
wanted to do something to separate him from all the rest of the silent character,
Sure.
like the villains out there. And it's like I figured, no, he is a clown, so even though I don't talk, I can still convey my intentions through my physical motions and facial expressions. And I was lucky that the mask I wear is basically like skin. So I can do whatever I want with my face and it totally reads for the camera. So I'm able to convey my intentions without speaking in a lot of fun ways. And I have a lot of fun, just playing around with that. And it's like, I sometimes do things I don't even realize I'm doing. And like they yell cut and they're like, "Oh, Dave, do what you did." I'm like, I don't know what I did. It's like the oh thing I did in
Yeah,
part two. I had no idea I had done that. And they're all just dying laughing. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, I'll try to do that again for you guys. So cool. Okay. Yay.
You,
that's awesome.
David, you get casted for Terrifier.
hmm
When you go in to film that, did you realize I guess, the gore and the effects that were going to be put into that? Like, were you well aware of that before you started filming it? Because those are pretty
Yes.
iconic scenes in the first movie, but then leading into the second, it takes it even a step further. So,
And I heard 3 might even take it a
Yeah,
step.
it kind of does because for part three we hired Christian Tinsley's award-winning makeup effects team for this, and I mean they did like the Passion of the Christ and
Oh,
Renfield and
okay.
all these other
wow.
really cool. So they know their shit. So like Damien does great stuff himself, but they were able to like take things to a different level because they have the skill set, they have an army of people, they have so many more supplies at hand. So they built some amazing things that you're going to see in part three that I was simply stunned by. I was like, wow, I cannot believe we're doing this. But yeah, going back to the question, like in part one, I did know because I was familiar with, All Hallows Eve. I knew Damien's work and but when I first read the script, I thought some of that was just going to be description that was in the script, and I didn't realize that's actually what we're going to show, especially with the hacksaw scene. And I go to Damien about that. It's like, wow, this is really cool. Like, it'd be cool if we could show any of that. He's like, oh, we're going to show all of that. I'm like, fuck yes. And then I'm like, that's going to change the game. I was like, that's because people aren't used to that, especially that time period. During the since the early 2000s, it seems like people have pulled back from that kind of gore in horror movies. And I was like, this is what the horror fans really love. They love the gore. They
Amen.
love that kind of stuff, especially with the practical effects. So like we got to do that. We got to deliver on that, and because that's what's going to put us on the map. So and Catherine thought the same thing about it. I mean, she's having to do some very vulnerable things, with herself in that scene, but she realized what that scene could become one day. And it's just like, you know what? Let's do this. If we're gonna swing for the fences, let's really swing for the fences hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to
iconic.
know the origin of where the salt and bleach come in, though, because that scene is phenomenal. But when
Yeah,
he leaves the room and comes back, it just goes in a whole other level right there.
He
that
was
was
done.
crazy.
There was nowhere else to go. But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. And that scene had so many different versions of it. That's the one thing that Damien and I were just constantly going back and forth with when he first just came up with that whole let's just skin a person alive. And he came up with that idea because of the Mary Kelly photograph of Jack the Ripper's victim. And he basically wants to deconstruct that crime scene photo and figure out how you got to that point where it's just so like it's basically a skeleton with meat on it by the end of it. And I'm like, and so we're trying to find different ways to do that. And he had written one version of that, and we were starting to film it. Then COVID happened, and we were like, well, we got all these months off. He had time to really build some effects for that. He's like, you know what? I got all this time now. I don't want to just sit around in my apartment and just sulk. Like that, I'm going to make use of my time. So he went back to the drawing board and rewrote that whole entire scene and just went crazier and bigger with it. And I was like, this is fantastic. But like the salt and bleach stuff, that was like both of us, I think, just putting our heads together. Yeah, he like the whole he came with that whole idea of like bleach or like window cleaner, so like the art would like spray it on her and massage it into her. And I thought of the whole thing was like the that whole the idiom about pouring salt into the wound. And I'm like, well, why don't we just do that too? Like he's assaulting her, so let's actually assault her. And it says that's the great thing about Damien. He's so willing to collaborate with other people with ideas. So it's not always just his idea and that's it. He's totally open to other people. It'll be crew members that suggest something. He's like, sure, let's try that, see where it goes. And that's how it went. And it's like there's another part of that whole entire kill scene that wasn't in the script either, and it was the whole bit with me downstairs with the water, and that came about through an accident where I was originally just supposed to, like, Allie just heard a noise and she goes downstairs, and I was supposed to come like flying through that window that's broken, and that's what we were going to film that night. And they were taking the breakaway glass out of it, and they discovered when they opened the box it was broken, both sheets of it, and they're like, oh God, what are we going to do now? And we had originally had an idea, I think, in that kill for Art to take a break, because he's just like, okay, I need a breather. He was going to go downstairs, and like that's when he was going to, we're going to show him grabbing the salt and bleach and stuff like that, and go back up. And we're like, well, why don't we put that little bit of that here instead, like in this kind of like creepy thing with like, what if he's just chilling out in this house and he's just made himself at home, and he's just comes in nonchalantly, like. I don't remember who came up with that. The whole idea was just like, it was a bunch of us just putting our heads together at that point because we're in panic mode, because like we got to film something, and that's what we came up with, that whole idea of him just making himself at home, getting a glass of water in the kitchen, then sees Allie and chases her up the stairs. It's just one of those happy accidents that happens. I think it's so much creepier than him just barging through a window like anybody else does in the movie. It's like, yeah, he's just, I think it's really creepy just knowing the villain is just so confident with themselves of what they're going to do, that they're just like, yeah, I'm just going to get some water, wait for you to come down, and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, you're dead either way. So,
Oh, yeah. And
And
I love too that we tackle that whole convention, like why people run upstairs in horror movies is like, and it's because he blocks her from going out the front door, and so she has no other way to go, because the other door has glass in front of it, so it's like she's barefoot, so she can't run through all that glass. It's like he thought all of that out in his head. He's like, I'm gonna block her off and make her go upstairs. So it's like this. I love that, because you never have an answer to that question. It's like, why do they always run upstairs, not out the front door?
Aren't slamming the door on the horror tropes.
Yeah, exactly. You got to. You got to. I even thought, as like, he could even have that all planned out too. It's like if she opened the door, he could have had a Garrett wire right there to boom. Just like, yeah, I knew you were gonna do that.
he's basically the Joker. Comes off completely unhinged, but no, he's got a plan.
Oh, definitely has a plan. Definitely has a plan.
One thing, I don't know why it just crossed my mind now. Did Damien, I'll let you have your drink first, because this is
thank you.
This is a little gross.
That's my coffee.
So, then it's best that I pause for this. Did Damien ever tell you what Art's fascination is with shit?
We've never actually talked about that. I just guess that's he likes to just mess with people, and it's like, what kind of just depraved things can he do to people? And it's like, let's put poop on the walls. Why not? That's because, and it's funny because he wrote that without knowing me and knowing my past, and I have a past of doing that when I was a little kid. I did that with my diapers. With my like this whole new outfit that my godmother had bought me, and then I'm like, two of my godmothers were babysitting me, and I just decided to decorate myself and the room with shit as,
you didn't spell hard, did you?
Yeah. Oh no, I did. I don't. I doubt that. Probably Aramaic things I put. I don't know, but
it's just like, DHT all over the walls.
It's so funny. And then another thing with that same scene from part one is just like when I waited tables. It's like when I read the scene, I had a cackle, because like, oh my God, I have dealt with this very scenario, waiting tables. Because I one time at my job, there was this, because I know it was this one person that went to the bathroom, because no one else had been in there except for me right before her. And this like very well-to-do looking lady just goes in the bathroom. She comes out like 10, 15 minutes later, and my boss is like, Dave, you got to go in there and clean this up. And I'm like, what? And I go in the bathroom. There's shit on the ceiling.
Wow.
And I'm like,
How'd that happen?
how the did she take I did she like lie on the ground and shoot it up? Did she grab it and throw it up? I don't, but especially when you see this woman, you would not. She was like some like 50-year-old like sweet little lady, and you're like, like what is wrong? And they're like, you got to clean that up. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. And I'm
You
like,
get
I got to take food to tables out here. This is a big, huge, sanitation violation here. I can like, I no bad idea. No, I am not doing. You don't pay me enough for that. So when I read that scene in the script, I'm like, oh my God, I have loved this moment. This is fantastic.
that was your Vietnam flashback.
Yeah, I was like, this is and it was in a pizza restaurant that I was working at that same thing happened. It was like,
Oh, wow.
this is like kismet here. I'm like, this is amazing.
Maybe an aggressive wipe. You never know.
Yeah, oh, that was aggressive. But it was just too. It's just like, what? How? What did you eat, lady? It's just like,
It's
and she just walked out like there was nothing, no problem. It was just like she's just sitting at her table like she had done nothing wrong. It's like, I know what you did.
I mean, out of fairness, it wasn't her problem.
No, she made it our problem, and I feel so sorry for the poor person they had from the rest of the staff. I guess they got like one of the bus boys or something like that to do it, and I was just like, oh God, it's just that was horrible.
In other words, he's been stalking you from a very early age. He's
Yeah,
like, you know what,
probably.
this kid, I'm going to use him one day.
Yeah. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
David, what do we expect to see in Terrifier 3 when it comes out in October?
Oh God. Oh my God, so much mayhem. I have to say it's God, it was such I had the most fun filming this one of all three of them. I was so much more comfortable, both like physically comfortable with like the environments I was filming in, and just emotionally and mentally comfortable because I'm so much more in tune with the character now. He just comes second nature. But just the scenarios that I was given to really play in, I had so much more fun because the whole idea of a Christmas setting for a slasher film just opened so many possibilities, and we went balls to the wall with those ideas. It's just like it was fun. It was just fun. So that you're definitely, I mean, with the gore, expect a lot of gore. I mean, that's one of the main reasons we didn't go with the Hollywood studio system. We got approached by all the studios. They were all throwing money at us, and Damien and I talked about it. All the production team, we all talked about it, and he even posed it to the fans, like, do you want us to go with studios and have a bigger budget, or do you want us to stay independent, have a smaller budget, but still stay true to what we've been doing? Because the studios were coming in, it's like, we love it, but you're going to have to make a lot of cuts to certain things. Like, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to film the first 5 minutes of the movie with the content we have in it. And
I mean, there are a lot
yeah.
of cuts in these movies.
Oh, a lot, especially in the first 5 minutes of the movie. But that's the thing. It's like we knew that, and especially seeing how the fans were unanimous, not a single person told us to go to studios. And it was like, we knew if we went to studios, we would be selling out, and we would not be able to stay true to the vision that these films are, built upon and what have made them popular. And it's like, no, we're going to go with what we've been doing before. And luckily, Cineverse was like, hey, who put us out for part two. They're like, hey, we believe in you guys. We're going to just give you this money. You just do what you did before. We trust you guys, and that's what we did. And so we didn't pull back at all from the gore. I think we always take it as a challenge to see what we can do to surpass what we did in the previous movies. We don't want to pull back. We want to keep experimenting and pushing boundaries, and so we definitely did that in part three. But I will also say that I just feel like everything was improved upon in this movie, especially character wise, and just the acting was like. I feel like everybody brought their A game to this one. Everybody's improved since part two, especially Elliot and Lauren. I mean, they are fantastic in this. And one thing I really like about Lauren's performance in this is something you usually don't see with a returning final girl. Is most of the time in the other films, they always seem so well adjusted, like nothing had anything horrible had really happened in their life. But like I think Lauren even went through and researched trauma victims and seeing how really violent trauma affects people long term. And I believe Damien did that too when he researched before he wrote the script and everything. And I feel like Lauren really brings a new dimension to Sienna this time around. Is she's fantastic in this. There's just moments, scenes I'm not in that I've been able to see of her, and it's just like her emotional range in this film is fantastic. So you have that, then you have Art, who is just a cocky asshole this time, being reborn and brought back from the dead again, and he's having a blast. So like, when the two of them finally come back together, for their confrontation, it's one hell of a fight. I feel like, I that's one part of the movie I told Damien I don't want to see the edit of until I see it in the theater, because it's just so big and epic, and I'm so proud of what we were able to do. It was a long week for us, but this fight is something else between the two of those characters, and I can't wait for people to see it. I feel like we're making up for what was lacking in a recent horror franchise ending between two characters. And I'm like, this is what the fans want to see. They want to see a real fight between these characters. And I have to say, like, I have to give a tiny tip of the hat to my incredible stunt double, Bobby. He makes me look like a badass in this scene. And I got to do a lot of stuff myself, but he came in and did some things I know I definitely could not physically do. And I was like, damn, dude. And Lauren as well. She had her stunt double, Jenna, that was there. But Lauren, I have to give a nod to her, because she ended up tackling a lot of her own stunts as well. And she really kicks ass in this scene. So I can't wait for everybody to see that. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, because doesn't Lauren do MMA or something?
Yeah. She's got like a black belt, and she
Yeah.
teaches kickboxing, and she's a badass, and it shows in this movie, and I love that for her.
So David, that's kind of a cool segue talking about fighting, right? So given the
Mhm.
past success of like Freddy vs. Jason, if you were approached to do a horror mashup,
Mhm.
what slasher icon would Art take on?
It's like most people would go with a villain, but the one I would like to see, and it's like a hero that you don't really hear about much, or a movie you don't hear people talk about as much, is Willy's Wonderland. I would love to see Art go up against Nicolas Cage's silent janitorial character in that. I think that would just be insane, because both of them are batshit insane. And it was just
Yes.
like, I just
Yeah.
imagine that fight would be epic.
A new like WWE thing, and it's first person to speak loses.
Yeah. First person just go, ow.
You're out.
You're out.
So
You're done.
So it's Willy's Wonderland, not Long Legs, right?
Right.
He speaks in that one.
Yeah, I haven't been able to see Longlegs yet, but I hear great things about it.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Good.
it's definitely good. It's different. It's
I
original.
love
So,
that. I love
yeah.
that's what's making me happy now, is seeing
Yeah.
people like really trying to do new things with horror movies now. It's like you have the I guess the Pearl Maxine series, In a Violent Nature. I haven't seen the whole movie yet, but I saw the infamous kill on that, and I was like, yay, yay, thank you, thank you. Some other people are doing this.
Yeah.
I was like, so of course I was like, damn, why didn't we think of that kill first? That's a good kill. That is a very good. I was like, that was a cool kill.
Well, originally she was supposed to get sawn in half with a hacksaw, but then somebody else took that. So,
oh well.
they had
Well,
to
what I
change
thought
it
was
up.
so funny about that too is there's a picture of Jenna Cannell when we are on set for Terrifier 1. We were just goofing around. It's like another thing of weapons we had lying around. And it was those two hooks with the chain connecting them. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't we ever use those yet? But then I'm like, I see that. I'm like, oh, that's a perfect use of those. That's great. That's great. That's really creative. I love that whole thing with the head go. Oh, it's like, that's so cool. That was so cool. I was like, good job. Good job. Because, I've got some people like, oh, you got some competition this year for best kill. I'm like, cool. That's great. I love that. I love to see that, because I feel like, it's good to have that kind of competition, because that's what inspires others to keep doing what we've been doing. And yeah, it's like I think the more people start doing this, we'll start getting those really great slashers again. It's time for a new renaissance in slashers, I feel.
When we were talking to Michael Leavy a couple weeks ago, that was one of the things we brought up. Like, that's the beauty of Damien, where he made this movie, got it in theaters because originally what? It was one night,
Oh yeah,
the
it
original
was supposed to
plan.
like one night, or then it got to be 3 nights and like 500 theaters,
Yeah.
and
And
then it just went.
and yeah, Hollywood needs to learn to like step back a little bit. Let
Yeah,
these creators do their thing.
Yes.
If it's
yeah,
got to go in unrated, like if people are going to like it, they're going to
yeah.
see it. Like it doesn't have to go through your filter first. So
No,
There's a
no.
hopefully
horror
he,
audience for it. There's a
And I,
horror
say-
audience
and
for
I
it.
think
So
that's what the problem is right now. It's like I look back in the 80s. You didn't have $200 million movies being made in the 80s. You had like $5 to $10 million movies being made,
yeah,
and that way they could get a lot of them out. And that way you didn't have as a big of a risk factor going in. And so people, when there was less of a risk factor about losing money on these movies, people were willing to experiment more and try new things. Now it's like it's all about $100 million+ movies. So they want to stay safe to what their algorithms tell them is going to make them money, so they don't lose that money. And I
yeah.
feel that that's why we've lost so much innovation in film recently. And I'm hoping we might start changing that, because we're showing like, yeah, you can make a good movie on like just a few $1 million, and the audiences
yeah.
will come in and you'll make a good profit.
Yeah.
And I think the Terrifier franchise is proving that, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully that will pave the way for
That's my hope. That's my hope,
yeah.
because I feel like we're kind of in a dark ages with cinema right now, and so we need, and I feel that that's what it is because people are too afraid to push boundaries, too afraid to they just want to play it safe. Like we got, especially with horror and comedy, I feel like those are the areas that are lacking, and that's because those are two areas that you can't play it safe. You got to be pushing boundaries and trying new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And comedy. When was the last great comedy?
God, probably The Hangover, maybe This Is the End. That's, it's
Oh,
just
This Is the End is great.
yeah.
That's a
Or
great movie.
but then you have the Deadpool movies. Those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like
it seems like Ryan Reynolds is another one that it's
yeah,
just like, no, this is what I want to do with the character, take it or leave it.
yeah,
And apparently he
exactly.
even got Disney to agree.
Yeah.
So
It's because that man has power.
yeah.
It's like,
So so hopefully on the comedy end, Ryan Reynolds, and
yeah,
on the horror end, Damien is like that they're
yeah,
opening the floodgates that,
yeah,
again, the system is gonna let more people just do their thing.
yeah,
And if it bombs, then lesson learned. But if we get another Terrifier out of it, another franchise like that, then, in the long
yeah.
run, people are going to make their money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Meh.
David, you got the movie Stream coming out on August 21st.
Yes.
Four deranged killers competing for the most creative kills on the hotel guests. You play player two.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your character and how this is maybe a little bit different.
Yeah, because that's one thing. He's another silent character, so I had to find some ways to make him a little bit different from Art, physically and stuff like that. So Art is more playful. This character's playful too, but he's more. I look at him as he's got more of a theatrical dance type of background to him, so his movements are more fluid, and he also has a sibling that he's partnered up with in the movie, so that they're a nice little dynamic duo. They're kind of like Harley and Joker in a lot of ways in this movie, which is kind of fun. So that was a fun movie. That was definitely fun. We filmed that all during COVID too, so that was fun being locked in a hotel for about a month or so with a bunch of horror icons. That was a very surreal thing to wake up every morning like, who is on set today? Oh my God. This is amazing.
It's a great lineup.
Yeah,
Great
it's an
lineup.
insane lineup.
Yeah.
Insane lineup. And it's like and there were so many other people that we wanted to have in the movie that also wanted to be in the movie. We couldn't put everybody into that movie. That's why we're hoping to make it a franchise, so we can keep on bringing in more of our horror family into these movies.
Yeah.
And
Dave, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just
I,
going to.
I was just gonna say, so David, we met Damien at a convention a few years back, and
Mhm.
when I went up to his table, I actually took my shot. I had to shoot my shot, so I told him, I said,
Yeah.
"Look," I said, because I was trying to get in the next Terrifier movie. I said, "I have this tattoo.
Yes.
Right? So I said, I got the perfect kill, right? I'm a fan of Art and kind of doing his thing, and I walk down the street, Art sees me, notices the tattoo, right? Maybe pins me down, cuts the arm off, maybe draws something on the face, sharpens the bone and gouges my eyes out. Let's go.
Nice. I like it. I like it. This is it's fun. Why not?
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
you never know. That's the thing. That's what I love about this character. That the possibilities are endless with him. It's just like he's one of those really creative killers like Freddy and Chucky. So it's like he could do so many fun things with them, and I
Yeah.
love that.
I'm available to film at any time. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Terrifier 4 or 5, let's go.
It's already finished post-production there. Now, but yeah, wow, I drew a blank already.
I do that all the time.
how it's a David thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never got that seeing the first movie, and like I've anybody I showed it to like lost their shit over the idea of this is a slasher, but he uses a gun. I'm like, that makes it even better.
As a
Like,
last resort.
no
Ghostface
rules.
has, Chucky has. It's just like,
Yeah.
but it's all about how you use the gun, I feel too. It's not like he's just, 2 shots, you're dead. He uses the gun to disfigure people in humiliating ways.
Yeah. He emptied the gun, went around, reloaded.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
I do. It's fun. It's so much fun. I hate saying this because I get it, but it's fun. It's fun. It's
Right.
like it's just like lighting a person on fire. I never thought I would do that. Now I have, and I'm like that. Nothing prepares you for that. It's just like that. See a human being actually just woof right in front of your face that you've done yourself. You're like, that's insane.
Well, you always hear like, especially the whole satanic panic thing,
Yeah.
talking about like violent movies, metal music, when video games became a thing, like that just leads to violence and all.
Yeah.
Like I indulged in all that from childhood. And to me, that was the release. So I didn't have to go out and do it in public.
Exactly.
So you get to do some really horrible things, and it's just make pretend. Then you
Yeah.
don't have, then you don't have to do a burnout on somebody's head in New York.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine that. I've actually probably playing art has probably helped save lives.
Yeah. But people always got to look at the negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brought a lot of joy to these nerds' lives right here. So we thank you for it.
Oh, you're very welcome, guys.
I was gonna touch on conventions now that you've become a horror icon in many people's eyes. So what are some of your most memorable meets in conventions? And do you have one story that might have been a little bit awkward or
Oh, I
something like
did
that?
sign someone's ass one time, so that was
Oh
interesting.
god.
Were they
It's
going to
like-
get it tattooed?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had like my tattoo on their ass, and they wanted me to sign above the tattoo. And I hate seeing this, but she was very attractive too. So she's like, this is crazy. This is crazy. What is my life right now that I am signing some really attractive woman's butt right now? I'm like, this is crazy. This is
The
crazy.
funniest part when you told that story, I just assumed it was a guy at first.
Oh
So
yeah, I was like,
that's
oh no, I did sign Rob Mellow's boob one time, so the baby face killer from Happy Death Day. So
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
light bulb. I gotta make this sign right here.
yeah, he comes over, and is like, Dave, sign my tit. And he's like, woo. I'm like, okay.
Jesus, you didn't even shave first.
I don't know, he didn't. It was very sweaty too, so it like messed up the marker. I was like, oh, I gotta throw that out now. Thanks, Rob. Love you, man.
So David, Fangoria magazine, right? Have you read Fangoria magazine?
Of course.
And, yeah, I mean, I grew up on it. I mean, at that time, that was where we got all our horror news, right? There was no internet.
Yeah.
So what did you think being on the cover, gracing the cover of Fangoria? How cool was that?
I never thought I'd be a cover model, so that was insane. I was like, wow, do I get a centerfold too? Just me and the laundromat, just
I was gonna say, why not? He's naked in every movie.
yeah.
now.
That's how I feel now. It's like I used to be so self-conscious about being, people seeing me without a shirt on. I'm like, now everybody's seen my ass, so I'm like, eh. It's like, I'm
There you
sorry, everybody, but you've now seen it, so I'm over that. I'm like, you've seen my ass, it's okay.
I just read a book called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
So So right there, right? Just kind of do your thing, man. Live your
Yeah,
life.
you get that at a point too in your life, especially once you hit your 40s. You're like, okay, I don't care anymore. It's just like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. You've seen it. But yeah, going back to Fangoria, though, that was insane. That was just absolutely insane. That was really cool. And, they actually I came out to visit us on set too and did, some interviews and everything on set. So that was really cool to have them there as well. So that's you're doing things right when Fangoria is coming to visit you on set. So that was
Absolutely.
pretty epic. Pretty epic.
Well,
What was
David, with you doing the mean one,
Mhm.
you were mentioning how you were in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the theater, doing
Yes.
the theater show. Did that lead to that? Because I think we were talking with Michael Leavy, and he said that, oh, I got the perfect. He was talking to somebody that doing the mean
Yeah.
one and kind of hooking you, getting you guys hooked up to kind of do that.
Yeah.
When you were telling your story, I was just kind of going back and thinking about that story and how that all came about.
Yeah. It was excuse me. Just choked on my own spit. Lord. Anyway, but
Yeah, I had to bring up
Take a sip of the
Fangoria, didn't you,
coffee.
oh
JC?
God, got me a little bit clumped. But yeah, that came about because the director for Mean One is Steve Lamort, who went to school with the Leavys and Steve Delasella, and he had done a fan trailer of the Mean One, and he decided to make it to a movie. And he went to like Mike. He's like, hey, and Steve and all them. He's like, do you guys know anybody that can play this part? They're like, yeah, we know a perfect guy. But he didn't know. Steve did not know my background as the Grinch. So when we talked, I was like, yeah, dude, I know this character very, very well. It's like I very, 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 very well. So yeah, I would love to play him again and in a fun new way. So that's how that all came to be. That was a lot of fun. And I love how that movie now has got like its own little cult following. It's just like people. I'm glad people understood like what we were trying to do there. It's like it's very tongue in cheek type of Hallmark Channel makes a horror movie type of thing. And I was like, it was a fun, silly movie.
And it was the perfect way for him to go out too.
Yeah, I thought that was a brilliant way for him to die in the movie. I was like, that's
Yeah.
such a cool thing.
Yeah, you kept it in the alleged lore, and but I
Yeah,
remember walking out of the theater like that was exactly what I expected it to be. And
yeah.
everyone else was like, "Oh, that was dumb." I'm like, "That was the point."
That's the point. That's the joke.
It was
It's just
it was
like,
a fun slasher fest,
yeah.
possibly may or may not have been a famous children's writer.
And,
Like,
and, and I just finished another movie with that same crew, as well as our Terrifier team teamed up with them. It's coming out in January in theaters. Screamboat. So
yes.
I'm playing Willie
Yes.
in that one. So oh bye,
We're excited.
bye. You're just gonna hate me now.
So
Yeah,
what is it? Steamboat Willie's public domain? Just
Yeah,
that
yeah,
iteration.
just that iteration of him. So
Okay.
that we had to stick to that. So I don't really talk in the movie. I'm just like making those little sounds like that because that's what he does in the original animated
Yeah.
version. So that was a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. It's got tons of Disney jokes in. So any Disney file, there's going to have fun watching that one. It's crazy that because we had a bigger budget for that than we did for the Mean One, of course. So like we really went crazy with the budget with the kills and everything. And they also filmed me on the on LED screen, so I'm a tiny little mouse. So we're doing all of the forced perspectives and stuff like that, like the old school versions, like in like even like what they did, the Lord
Gulliver's
of the Rings,
Travels and
yeah, all that kind of stuff. So that was a lot of fun. That was a new experience for me. So I'm excited for everybody to see that too. It's just like there's a lot of good stuff coming out. So I'm I'm excited right now.
yeah,
absolutely.
and yeah, it's good to see because there was, well, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard like the Winnie the Pooh movie. I heard it wasn't like not too many people liked it, which
I
dis
had fun with it. It was like
yeah.
I think they had really fun kills in that. I was like I was really happy with the kills. They even approached me to play Tigger in part two, but I couldn't do it because of the SAG strike. And I was like,
Okay.
damn. I was so upset because I had so many ideas of how I would play Tigger, and I was like, man, man,
But
that
yeah,
really upset me.
but taking all these like childhood stories and
Yeah,
turning them into horror and all, like I'm glad to see they're even if there is a swing and a miss, that they're
Mhm.
still trying because
Exactly.
again, like with the mean one, like I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
It wasn't to be taken seriously, but it was a good
Yeah.
time.
Exactly. And they're not for everybody. It's like we're not making these films for everybody. We're making them for the people that like that type of horror.
Yeah.
So if like people don't like it, that's okay. There's probably something else that they'll like that I don't like. So, like that's just how it goes.
Like
It was fun
Terrifier
for us.
14.
Yeah.
Yep.
So David, I'm curious. You used to teach, right, before you went into
Yes.
acting, right? So I'm just curious, your students back
Mhm.
then, has anybody kind of reached out now or just say, wow, that was my teacher and there he is on the screen as Art the Clown?
I haven't had any
Yes.
like former students, but I've had some of my former campers now that actually have their own
Okay.
kids that are like, yeah, my kids just watched you. They can't believe that you used to be my camp counselor, and because I used to do the also at our camp we had the skits and drama club, so I was the head of that. So they're like, yeah, he used to teach me in skits and drama club, and now my kids are watching
Pouring
you
salt
on.
and bleach.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's like, yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's awesome.
I love it. It makes me happy.
So
I know-
I just took a look. It looks like we're getting close to
Yeah.
your
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, we
curfew
want to
there. So I
do
don't
a
want
rapid
to.
fire.
Yeah, let's do rapid fire then.
All right, rapid fire questions for you, David. All right, favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh, like movie or like cartoon?
Just cartoon.
Oh God. Oh geez, fuck. Probably
Stumped
jeez.
Art right out of the gate.
probably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
I was like
Okay.
huge. I got to meet Kevin Eastman this past weekend too, so that was pretty epic. So he signed a whole thing for me. I was like, I almost started crying when I met. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah.
Okay, stranded on an island and only one food to survive. What is it?
I would probably say eggs because there's so many things you can do with eggs.
Okay.
Fair
okay.
enough.
Okay, favorite song?
Favorite song, probably Bohemian Rhapsody.
Ah, very
Yeah.
nice. Favorite movie, regardless of genre.
Oh, that's easy. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? My favorite movie of all time. Perfect
Okay.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite kill in the Terrifier franchise?
Oh, it's gonna be in part 3.
Oh.
Okay, and
Yeah,
what happens?
I will just say ho ho oh. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. So, if not a successful actor, what other career would you be doing right now?
I would be teaching. Yeah,
Okay.
That's where I would be.
Okay. If you could work with one actress or actor from any generation, who is it and why?
That would be Robin Williams. It's just he was an amazing powerhouse. I understand he was an amazing human being as well, and I feel like being able to be on screen with him would be such a master's class in comedy, and I would learn so much from him, and that would have just been amazing been able to do. I wish I could have had that opportunity.
Okay. One horror movie slasher or monster you would not want to meet in a dark alley.
Freddy Krueger,
Okay.
definitely Freddy, because you can't
Okay.
escape him. He's in your head.
Yeah.
And that's just
Yeah.
like that's terrifying.
Any fear of swimming in the ocean after watching Jaws?
It wasn't because I watched Jaws, but I was afraid for a while because I don't like to touch fish. It's because I swam in the ocean and I came up from air one time and there was a dead fish on my head and its face right from my face.
Oh, jeez.
And at the same time, that same day, there was a big, huge Shiner school that went through, just a giant, all these little tiny fish, and they got in everybody's swimsuits. And so it's like everybody's stripping out their swimsuits and everything, just like because fish are everywhere. Is horrible. And I was like, ever since then, I don't like to touch fish. I just like, So I don't like that idea of something like swimming by and touching me and I can't see it.
So Art's not going to be killing anybody in the ocean anytime soon.
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah.
All right. We're good. That's the end.
Cool.
Listen, we know time's a ticking here. So David, we appreciate you. This was
thank you.
absolutely
Yes.
amazing.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so
I
much.
appreciate
you.
y'all too. Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
We'd love maybe Terrifier 3 comes out. We'd love to have you back on sometime.
Sure.
to
Absolutely.
chat, so.
Oh, there's definitely gonna be a lot to talk about. So
Yeah, we got to do the Screamboat promotional
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
Yes.
David,
Oh, Polly.
all the best to you, and thank you again
Thank
for your
you.
time. And we really appreciate it.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you, David.
Yeah.
All
Y'all
right,
take
take
care.
care
Have a
now.
good
Good
one.
man.
Take
All
care.
right. Bye.
Art the Clown, baby.
Woo! See ya.
All right,
All
so
right.
Later.
excellent day for a podcast where we use the number 4 to save you time. Check out our entire catalog at excellentdayforapodcast.com. Also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. Have a question? Email us at excellentdayforapodcast@gmail.com.
But guys, I want to interact on social media.
Excellent.
See what we did there?
Follow us on Twitter at excellentday4a. Otherwise, search for What an Excellent Day for a Podcast to get our Facebook page, our group page, Instagram, YouTube, and our newly launched Twitch channel. Come say hello, share them all,